A topic that's been very interesting to me, especially over the last couple of weeks, especially on social media, we see this nearly every single day, or I see it every single day, is the discourse around Unai Emery and his time at Arsenal. There are people that are saying if Unai Emery was still at Arsenal, we would have won more, we shouldn't have sacked him. If we had the same amount of money and time as Mikel Arteta did, then Arsenal would have had a lot more success by now. And here's the thing, right? I understand why people are saying that. I understand why people are so desperate for Arsenal to win trophies, to win majors. So much money has been spent, so much time has been put into the squad backing this project between the Kroenkes and Mikel Arteta. So therefore, a lot of people are going to have the revisionist view on Unai Emery, on why Unai probably should have stayed at Arsenal and why he should have been given more of a chance. It's been quite an up and down thing with Unai Emery. I mean, after all, a lot of things, some things haven't really gone his way, especially like in the transfer market. He didn't get some players that he wanted, such as Wilfried Zaha. We opted in for Nicolas Pepe and so on and so forth. However, if we were to look at the time of Unai Emery and Mikel Arteta, there's a lot of eye-opening things, and a lot of people seem to have the memory of a goldfish. I'm sorry to say it, but a lot of you just forget a lot of the key things. Now here's the thing, right? When I start talking about Unai Emery, it doesn't mean I'm a Mikel Arteta supporter. It doesn't mean I want to support him till the cows come home and that I'm Mikel Arteta in and Arteta's always right and so on and so forth. I've had a lot of criticism of Mikel Arteta. I have a lot of expectations and demands from Mikel Arteta, especially this season. After the amount of time that has gone through, I demand a major trophy this season. And I've also said for Mikel Arteta that last season was probably the last straw for me, and that he really needs, like, if Arsenal are going to back him, then he needs to like go out there and have no excuses. So just because what I'm about to say about Unai Emery doesn't mean I think any more or any less of Mikel Arteta. I'll judge all the Arsenal managers, whoever's come to the club, the same way. It doesn't mean I can't criticize him. However, with Unai Emery, like I said, a lot of you are dumb, especially on social media, and I'll tell you why you're dumb, and I'll tell you why Unai Emery had to leave Arsenal Football Club when he did. And don't get me wrong, right? When he came into the club, anyone who came as Arsenal manager after Arsène Wenger was going to be in a world of pain. It was going to be extremely difficult. There were a lot of things that Arsenal needed to change because Arsène Wenger was an old school manager. He was a manager that wasn't fit for the times. He overstayed his welcome at the club, and it caused a lot of damage that took years upon years upon years for Arsenal to fix. And thankfully at this moment in time, we've got a squad that is hopefully has a very good chance of winning the league this season. But that has been what he left Arsenal at 2018. We're in 2025, 26 seasons. It's damn near 8 years now since Wenger's left, 7-8 years. So now we are really hoping that Arsenal can win this season. But back to Unai Emery, right? Look, in the beginning, he had his 22 unbeaten run. We were 70 points in the Premier League. We were 5th. The season before that, we missed out on the Champions League, and we missed out on the Champions League again in the second season in a row. And ultimately, you might think to yourself, well, you know, we didn't really do bad or good, so maybe Unai Emery was treated unfairly. And to some degree, he was. However, the way we collapsed, the way we got 5th place, that is what is the eye-opening thing, and that is what people need to look at and remember. Because if you remember that run of games, especially the last 5 to 6 games that Arsenal have played in the previous season, you would know that Arsenal completely bottled it. We bottled it, we threw it away, we were shook, we were scared, mentally we were not there. Every single pundit for the last God knows how many years I've been watching Arsenal, I've always talked about Arsenal's mentality, and Unai Emery could not solve that issue. He could not get the best out of the players. He was over-reliant on Aubameyang, which, by the way, Aubameyang was absolutely fantastic in that horrible couple of seasons that we had in that time with Lacazette. They had a good partnership that season, but when their form went down, it was dreadful. And that is why when I look at Unai Emery's time at Arsenal, that is this part of it that I look at and I'm like, yeah, this is where you really messed up badly on, right? We, in the last 6 games, imagine, right? We were 1 point off the top 4. In the last 6 games that we had in the Premier League, we only won 1 game, right? Let me read to you the games that we had. and the results of that. Leicester City versus Arsenal away, we lost 3-0 to Leicester City. After that, we drew to Brighton at home. I'm sure you remember Bissouma's meme laughing at the players at the Emirates. I'm sure it's a very famous meme. I'm sure you must have seen it. We won against Burnley 3-1, fantastic. And then we lose to Crystal Palace, where we completely mucked it up in that game, right? We had the lead and we completely mucked it up 3-2 at home, and we lost to Wolves 3-1 as well. Can you even fathom 4 losses, 1 draw and 1 win in 6 games? And it wasn't like it was the craziest of runs. We were playing the top 4 teams in those runs. No, we were playing mid-table to relegation teams essentially at that time. And that is where I look at Unai Emery and I just think to myself, you bottled it. You absolutely bottled it. And to cap it all off, he went into Baku, and we all know what happened against Chelsea, where we got absolutely slapped. We got slapped differently that game, and that game in itself was an embarrassment. That 4-1 loss that we had, it was probably one of the worst moments ever as an Arsenal fan. And for him to put all his baskets in the Europa League, if you could have just had one extra win out of those 6 games in the Premier League, then we were home free. We wouldn't have anything to worry about and it would have been fine. But no, it just wasn't meant to be. And that is why I looked at Unai Emery and I say to myself, yeah, this was on very thin ice. And then when we go into the next season, right, when we spend our record signing on Nicolas Pepe, right, a guy that I looked at from the scouting network, okay, maybe Unai Emery didn't want him or wanted him or whatever, but he was brought in and he was supposed to be the next big thing essentially. We got Gabriel Magalhaes was also there, we had Gabriel Martinelli as well, so we had like a whole bunch of players that came into the team essentially in that summer window, and we went through a 7-game winless run. We couldn't win a game in seven games. We couldn't win. I mean, even me thinking about it, it's just unthinkable. Especially looking at the team now, I'm thinking about the team then. This was the worst run of form that Arsenal have ever had in 25 years. We were playing Lucas Torreira in camp. We were doing the madnesses. I mean, and that could be down to the fact that, and this is the thing that I remember with Unai Emery when he first came, he said, I prefer to win 5-4 than 1-0. And that in itself had alarm bells. Yes, you will have high entertaining games, but that's not the style of play you need to win the Premier League. You need to focus more defensively. And when Unai tried to do that, we messed up. Let me go through the 7 games and you tell me whether or not these guys were like some fantastic top 4 best in the world type teams, right? We drew against Wolves, then we drew against Victoria. God knows what's happening to that team now. We lost against Leicester. We drew against Southampton. We lost against Frankfurt. I'm sure a lot of you remember Frankfurt, right? Kamada and all those guys. Yeah. Norwich we drew, and then we lost against Brighton. 7 games we couldn't get a damn win from November to December. That is unforgivable. And I know that a lot of you Arsenal fans are going to look at Unai and see what he's doing in Aston Villa, and he's doing a good job at Aston Villa, right? And he's had a fantastic history in the Europa League, but that is inexcusable. And a lot of the players, especially at the time, they were confused. There was a lot of problems going on in the dressing room. I'm sure a lot of you remember Granit Xhaka. Yeah, when he had to throw the armband and he was cussing out the fans and swearing at them. That also happened in his time. We saw what happened with Ozil, saying that, calling him a crap manager in his face. There was all sorts of nonsense going on between the players and the manager, and it just wasn't on. It wasn't going to work moving forward. There was and especially like with the tactical changes and just the muddling things up and being unable to control the squad, it was clear that Unai had to go. And I feel bad because I think that there's parts in his management which I think is really good. You don't go to the Europa League and win it 3 years in a row. However, this is the same guy, and I hate to say this, where he bottled it against Barcelona in the Champions League. If you know what I know, like when he was at PSG, right? Where Neymar and Messi and Suarez and all them lot did an absolute madness on them in the second leg. But yeah, that is what I got to talk about and what I got to remind you lot about with Unai Emery, because like I said, a lot of you have a memory of a goldfish. Now I get it, a lot of you really want Arsenal to win. I want Arsenal to win. But what we're not going to do is tell lies. What we're not going to do is just forget what happened in the past. That was a madness. And whether you want to rate Mikel Arteta or not, we are in a much better position now compared to back then. But the other argument is, if you were to give any manager £1 billion, would they improve the team? Obviously. Any manager with that sort of money would do it. However, with Unai Emery, he was backed. He was given a lot of money. He was given like a lot of different players over the seasons, which came into the team where he could implement his system and his style and this and that. And ultimately, it just didn't work out and he had to leave. Simple as that. Now, am I going to see more Unai Emery talk on social media saying whether or not he should have stayed at Arsenal or not? Probably. However, it's important that I came here right now to talk about the truth, what has happened in that time, and why he had to go. Because some of the decisions he made, especially between one game in the final against Chelsea or getting one or winning one more game in that 5-6 run, that 2018-19 season, which probably would have got him third place, right? He would have went from fifth to third because it was 98 points City, Liverpool at 97 points, and then there was Chelsea and Tottenham, right? And if Arsenal had gotten 3 more points, we would have been third. But that's just not how it happened because he bottled it and he put his eggs in one basket, which he should have never have done, which was a stupid decision itself, and ultimately it cost him the job. And that's all that needs to be said with regards to that. Anyhow, that is my thoughts on reminding you lot about what has actually transpired, especially during that time, because I remember, because I lived it and I've seen it and it was utter hell and annoying. But anyhow, that's my thoughts at the end of this video. Please like and subscribe, and please guys, don't forget the past. Anyhow, hope to see you soon in the next video. Bye.